Okay, welcome. If you can hear the sound of my voice, see if you can raise your hand in the GoToWebinar hand raising. Boy, you guys are quick. You guys are good. Right on it. Make sure I've got everything going. Yeah, looks good. Thank you. All right, let's go ahead and get started. My name is, ooh, that didn't, there we go. How about that? So my name is Michael Devlin, and I'm a real estate broker. And this is Real Estate 101, how to launch a successful real estate career. If you have questions, go ahead and type them into the chat. I usually answer them at the end, unless they're like really, really good questions and I just can't wait. But usually, I answer them at the end. So just go ahead and do that. And what we're going to do tonight is talk about three things. One of them is why real estate and why now? And what I mean by that is that if you're willing to take time off on a Monday evening to participate in, well, something like this, it's probably because you're looking for something new, something different, hopefully better in your business or professional life. I'm assuming that's why you're here. And if you're looking to do something different, better in your business or professional life, why would you get into real estate, right? What are the advantages? What are the disadvantages? What do you actually have to do to be successful? How much money can you really make? We're going to cover that. And then, of course, another related question is, even if you want to get into real estate, is now a good time? Should you wait? We'll work that in too. After you've made the decision that you're interested in getting into real estate, the next question is, well, with whom? There are different kinds of real estate companies. They are structured and they operate differently. And we'll look at some of those differences and what the options might be in picking an office to work with. And then finally, in how to get started, we're going to talk about what do you need to do to get a real estate license? What do you need to do to keep a real estate license? And by the way, how long does all of this take and how much does all of this cost, right? I hope that's what you wanted to hear tonight because, well, that's what I'm going to talk about. So let's start with the why real estate, why now? And I like to begin with some definitions. You've probably heard the words real estate broker versus real estate salesperson. Now, those terms refer to two different kinds of real estate licenses. You could get a real estate broker's license or you could get a real estate salesperson's license. Now, if you have a real estate salesperson's license, you can do everything that a broker can do. If you have a salesperson's license, you can do everything the broker can do with two exceptions, right? There's two things that you could do with a broker's license that you can't do with a salesperson's license. Only two. One of them is be independent. So salespeople have to work for brokers. Brokers don't have to work for brokers. Brokers can be independent. The second thing you could do with the broker's license is, well, you could brag about it. You could tell everyone that you've got the advanced license, the graduate license, the executive license. I don't know. Most people have no idea what you're talking about, nor do they particularly care. Now, to become a real estate broker in California, you need 2 years full-time experience in real estate or 4 years part-time experience in real estate, all within the last 5 years. And you have to take some courses and pass an exam and a bunch of other stuff. So we're going to talk about how to be a salesperson because, well, that's what you're probably going to have to do first. Then there's the term agent. Now, the word agent is more about a relationship in that in order to have agency, you have to have at least 3 people. You have a principal, and then you have an agent, and the agent's job is to represent the principal, and then you have third parties. So the agent represents a principal in dealings with third parties. No third party, no agency. Now, the way this comes up is people will say to me, if I go ahead and get my real estate license and I decide I'd like to buy a home for myself, can I be my own agent, right? I've been asked that question many times, and technically, legally, the answer is no. No, you can't be your own agent. And the reason is because agents, by definition, represent other people with other people. If you're representing yourself, if you're the buyer in the transaction, then you can't be an agent in the transaction because you're a principal. Right? That was, by the way, a true, accurate explanation or answer to that question. However, I also know that really wasn't the question they were asking me, right? That's the question, the way they worded it, but that was really, what they were really asking was this. If I get my real estate license and I decide to buy a house for myself, can I save money on the commission? The answer to that is yes, but it's not because you're acting as an agent in the transaction. You're not, you're a principal. It's because you're a licensee. And when we use the term licensee, we're referring to somebody with either a broker's license or a salesperson's license. And as a result of that professional status, you can save money on the commission when you buy or sell real estate for yourself, but you're not an agent in that transaction. You're still a principal. And then there's the word realtor. The word realtor is a copyrighted designation of the National Association of Realtors, which is a trade association, which is kind of like a union, right? It's like a union. It's like the Teamsters union, let's just say. Now, for those of you that are not familiar, the Teamsters union is a union you might join if you wanted to drive trucks commercially. They do other things, but that's, as an example. Now, the question is, if you want to be a truck driver, do you have to join the Teamsters? Is that like a legal requirement that you join the union? The answer, of course, is no. You don't need to join the union to drive trucks. What do you need in order to drive trucks commercially? And the answer is you need the license, right? If you have the commercial driving license, you can drive trucks without joining the union, but you might choose to join the union. And the reason you might choose to join the union, there's some jobs you're not going to get unless you're a union member, and then they have training and they have job boards and placement services and insurance programs and retirement programs. They got a lot of stuff. So our union in real estate is called the Association of Realtors. There's a National Association of Realtors, a California Association of Realtors, and there's a local board of realtors. Does the law require that you join the Association of Realtors to sell real estate? The answer is no. The answer is no, you just need the right license and to have a broker. However, you might choose to join the union, and we'll talk about when that would come up a little bit later. What can you do with a real estate license? I'll bet you already knew that you could help people buy or sell residential property and get paid a commission. You probably already knew that. The same is true for commercial. Many times people have said to me, look, I don't want to sell houses. I don't want to go to people's homes in the evening. I don't want to go around on weekends, I don't want to do any of that stuff. I want to work with business people during business hours. I only want to do commercial real estate. How do I get a commercial real estate license? And the answer is there's no such thing. There's just a real estate license. And if you have a real estate license, you can do residential, you can do commercial, same license, and you can also do loans. There's actually a couple of ways of doing loans. One of them involves getting a real estate license and then getting the license endorsed as a mortgage loan originator, which requires another test and another fee and another course. And then you too can do loans. Property managers, people who manage commercial buildings and residential apartments and things like that, if they don't live in it or own it, have to have a real estate license to manage it. And business opportunities is when we're selling the business separate from the property. In other words, let's say you're buying a hardware store, but the guy that owns the hardware store doesn't own the building or the land. So when you're buying the store, you're not buying real estate because he doesn't own any real estate. He's a tenant. You're buying the business, and that's called a business opportunity. And there's a couple of ways you can do that, sell them as an agent and earn a commission. One of them involves having a real estate license. Now, primarily what we're going to talk about is residential. We do commercial. We do have loan programs. But reach out to me if you want to know more about them. I could answer a few questions, but we're going to stick mostly to residential tonight. So ways of getting a real estate license: you could work for a broker or not work for a broker, but you need to work for a broker. Where I'm going with this slide is that people have said to me, look, I really don't know what I'm going to do for sure, right? I've always been interested in real estate. People have said, hey, you'd be great at real estate. I'd like to get a real estate license, I think, but I really don't know what I'm going to do with it once I've got it. I don't have a broker lined up. I'm not sure I want to start with a broker. Do I need to figure all that out before I get my license? And the answer is no. No, you can go get a real estate license without having a broker and without activating it. But the license that they're going to issue you is called a non-working license, right? That's what the Department of Real Estate calls it, a non-working license. And a non-working real estate license is like, well, a non-working car, right? You can have it in your garage and your friends can come over and you can show it to them and they can say, oh, wow, that's a nice looking car. Could we go for a ride? And you have to say, no, you see, it's not, a working car. So you can go get a real estate license and you can put it on the wall and you can show it to people. But if they say, great, help me buy a house or help me sell my house, you can't do that until you have a broker. But you could get the license and keep the license forever without having a broker already lined up. You just can't work with it. Why real estate? Why are people attracted to real estate? One of the big reasons that people are interested in real estate is freedom and independence. A long time ago, I used to work for a very odd company. They were strange, and what was so weird about them is they told everyone at the company what time they had to be at work each day. It was like they had some sort of a rule, right? That everyone had to show up at a particular time, right? They would tell us when there was a break and when we could go to lunch and when we should be back for lunch. And at the end of the day, they would let us know when we could go home. I believe that arrangement is called a job, right? I think that's what that's called, a job, the journey of the broke, right? It's a job. Now, being in real estate is not like having a job. It's you could go through the offices and open up all the doors and look in all the cabinets. And what you're not going to find are time clocks, right? That agents are punching either literally or virtually. Being in real estate is way more like having your own business. And the people that are most successful in real estate are people that have always wanted to have their own business. In fact, it wouldn't hurt if you had some business experience or business acumen, and the relationship that we have to our associates is more like a business consultant or a business advisor than to a business owner than it is an employer-employee relationship. You understand, we're not going to call you at 10 in the morning and say, hey, where are you, right? You understand, it's not that kind of a deal. By the way, guess what one of the biggest disadvantages for some people about being in real estate, one of the big disadvantages? And the answer is freedom and independence. Freedom is a gift not always wisely used. There's the story of the guy that started at a tech company, right? It's his first day. He's, getting all the, tours and orientations and things like that. At lunchtime, he's sitting at a table and some old timer is going on and on and on about the history of the company and where it's going and what's happening and all that sort of stuff. And so the new guy asks the old timer, how long have you worked for this company? And the old timer said, ever since they threatened to fire me. That's how long I've been working, for the company. Have you ever met anyone like that where they work just enough so that they don't get fired, right? That's sort of their goal. And then the company pays them just enough and so they don't quit, right? And they work out this sort of sick relationship. Well, I'm going to say it plainly. Real estate is a non-salaried, commission-only profession. Non-salaried, commission only. You understand, it can be a very high-paying hard job, and it can be a very low-paying easy job. So now the question is, well, how much money could I make if I were selling real estate? That depends on a lot of things. It depends upon how many people you know and how hard you work and how much training you've had. And well, frankly, some people are better at it than others, right? But let me give you an example. Let's say you sold an inexpensive home in the Bay Area for $800,000. Now, by the way, in California, the median price of a home is a little over 700,000, right? In Santa Clara County, it's about 1.3. Alameda County, it's 8 something. You get the idea. It sort of varies depending on where you are, but 800,000 is, not too far off. The amount of commission that would be paid on the sale of an $800,000 house is not chiseled in stone. It's not set by law. It can be negotiated between the clients and the agents, but it wouldn't be unusual in that instance for each side to get $20,000. Let me explain what I mean by that. In a real estate transactions, there are 2 sides. There's the seller and there's the buyer. So let's say that the commission was 5%, right, for selling the $800,000 house, and each side got 2.5. Well, that would mean each side, the buyer side and the seller side, would each gross about $20,000. Typically, we're talking about 2 different offices. So if you found a buyer and that buyer bought a $800,000 house, you would gross about $20,000 in commissions. So one way to think of this is, let's say you found in 1 year 6 people who wanted to sell a home, $800,000, they eventually sold, and 6 people that wanted to buy a home, $800,000, and they eventually bought. That would have been 12 transactions. And at $20,000 in gross commission income, you would have grossed $240,000 that year from those 12 transactions. So I guess the first question is, could you live on that? Right? I know you're going to have to cut back a little, right? But it's just a question, right? Could you live on that? Now you can see where this goes if you were to do 2 transactions a month. Right, we're talking about close to $500,000, and by the way, it goes up and up from there. If under that scenario of the 2.5% side, if you sold one, let's say $40 million in the value of real estate. Now, I showed a $3.7 million house on Sunday. In our market, 40 million isn't an unachievable thing. If you had sold $40 million in real estate, $40 million homes or $22 million homes, you would have grossed $1 million in commissions. $1 million in commissions is what you would gross. And I know what you might be thinking, right? If you made $1 million in 1 year, you wouldn't have any idea how you could possibly spend that money. I'm sure that's what you were. Sure, that was what you were thinking. But one of the things you could do is invest in real estate. And if you want to be a real estate investor, being in real estate is actually a pretty good place to be. You see the properties before other people see them. You know more about financing and trends and what's going on and what the different kinds of opportunities are. There's an old saying, buy land, they're not making any more of it, right? And most people that retire wealthy do so as a result of investing in real estate, investment opportunities. And another reason that people are attracted to real estate is security. Now that may seem odd this is an independent contractor in your own business kind of a thing, but I'll give you an example. A friend of mine went to San Jose State, studied mechanical engineering, graduated, got a job at Hitachi in the hard drive division, worked for Hitachi 28.5 years, and they laid him off. They laid him off. And they said it was nothing personal, right? And he didn't think it was because they shut down the department, the division, they closed the whole plant. Now, even if he had been a perfect engineer, he still would have lost his job. It's not that they decided that he wasn't doing the job that they wanted done. They decided we don't need anybody here to do that job anymore, and the plant was moved to another location out of the country. So the thing about real estate is that you can be bad at it and you can fail at it, but you can't get fired, right? You're an independent contractor. If you don't get along with us, you can take your license and go work at another brokerage. If you don't get along with anyone, you just have to tough it out for 2 years, and then you can go get your broker's license and be all alone. Not sure how that's going to work, but you get the idea. You can fail, but you can't get fired, right? And it's up to you. If you're successful, people can't stop you from doing it. So ways of approaching real estate. You can start out as what we call an unlicensed finder. So a finder is somebody who doesn't have a real estate license, but maybe getting a real estate license. And they find people that are interested in buying or selling real estate. And they can receive a finder's fee when the transaction closes. We'll talk more about that. Then once you're licensed, your choices are you could be a referral only agent, and referral only agents just refer business. They don't actually learn how to fill out the contracts. They don't join the board of realtors. They don't do all that sort of stuff. But because they actually have a license, they can be involved and get a referral fee. Then there's the investor agent. And the investor agent is the person who's getting the real estate license, not primarily, let's say, because they're interested in investing themselves, but aren't opposed to doing something with others along the way. Then there are the dual career or the part-time agents. And there's two kinds of those. There's the one that wants out of whatever job they're in. I have people say, I want out as soon as I can. I want to be able to quit the job. I want to go do something for myself. But there's also what I would call the full-time, part-time, or permanent part-time, probably sounds a little bit better. And these are people who don't want to quit their job, right? So they don't want to. That's where they get insurance, or that's perhaps where they meet everybody that they're talking to about buying, selling, or investing in real estate. They don't want to quit. Right, and both of those models we can handle, right? Either the transition, I want to transition out of my current job into a full-time position in real estate versus I just want to make some money on the part-time. Then there's, of course, full-time real estate agents. And full-time real estate agents, they may have some other commitments, but basically they can invest, 40 hours a week or so into real estate. And big time real estate agents are people that develop teams. I have a production team. I have, 15, 20 people now, including people in Sacramento, and I've got people in Southern California. And so there you can expand where you can have other agents that are working with you in other areas. I have a client out here that wants to buy in Sacramento. That's good. I've got people on my team in Sacramento. You see how that could work. Let's start with the unlicensed finder. In California, if you don't have a real estate license, you are allowed by the law to find and introduce parties. You can even solicit parties for a referral to others. In other words, you could say, hey, if you're interested in buying, selling, or investing in real estate, let me know. Now, one of the things that we know about this is that when the union, the Association of Realtors, surveys buyers and sellers every year, one of the things they find out is that about 40% of all real estate transactions, when they track back, how did the client meet the real estate agent? About 40% of the time, it was a referral from a friend, family member, or relative, or coworker. Did I say that right? Friend, family member, coworker, relative, something like that. 40%. So that means that there may be people you already know, or people that they already know, that are interested in buying, selling, or investing in real estate. Now, without a license, you cannot take part in the negotiations. You're not supposed to be discussing price and the property and the terms and conditions of the transaction. All you're supposed to do is introduce people, and you can get paid a finder's fee. The referral only agent, why would people want to do it? And the answer is so they don't have to join the Association of Realtors or the Multiple Listing Service. They don't have to join the union. And we're going to get into the exact numbers, but that'll save you money when you get started. But the difference between an unlicensed finder and a referral-only agent is a referral-only agent actually has a real estate license, which means that you can solicit real estate business in a way that you couldn't do as an unlicensed finder. You're licensed, you're legal to go out and talk to people and advertise and do everything. You can be involved in the transaction, you can be part of the negotiation, you can discuss terms and all that other kind of stuff, but you're basically referring it to someone else. Now, if you're doing the business full-time, some of the things to think about is, first of all, real estate is sales. And what sales, professional sales means at its core is what you're paid to do is you're paid to talk to people. And the more people you talk to about real estate, the more often you're going to get paid. If you only talk to some people about real estate, well, you're only going to get paid some. But if you talk to a lot of people about real estate, then you can get paid a lot. It's a function of how many people you talk to. And if you were to ask the question, what percentage of the American public now or in the future is going to be interested in buying, selling, or investing in real estate? Pretty much everyone, right? Interested to buy, to sell, or invest, which means is that everyone you know and everyone you meet is a potential client. So when we talk about talking to people, the first group of people that you would talk to are the people you already know, because you know them. And somebody that they know or themselves may be interested in buying, selling, or investing. But then, and this is where it separates from being a finder and being a licensee, then you're going to have to talk to people you don't know. And that's because you may not know enough people to make a career just out of them. Not everyone you talk to is interested in buying or selling real estate right now. In fact, 90% of the people are not going to buy, sell, or invest in real estate in any given year. 10% will. Where I'm going with this is sales is about talking to people, and the people that the agents who make the most money are often told no the most often. They're told no. Are you interested in selling your house? No, I'm not. Are you thinking about investing in real estate? No, I'm not, right? So the people that make the most money have usually been told no the most often, but they've also been told yes the most often, because a certain percentage of the people are going to say yes because they are interested in buying, selling, or investing in real estate. The other part of sales is that the fortune is in the follow-up. So if you say, no, I'm not interested now in buying, selling, or investing, maybe next year, the year after, I need to follow up to make sure that I'm talking to you still when you make the decision to buy, sell, or invest. You might need 6 months reserve if you're doing it full time. Now, I hired an agent in June who did an open house. This was last year. Who did an open house, met somebody at the open house that wanted to buy the open house, and she got her first commission check at the end of July. I'm not saying that's normal or typical. Usually, let's say if we have a real estate transaction, it's going to be 30 to 45 days before it closes. So a month to a month and a half easy before you get paid, assuming you went into contract today. So how long is it going to take you to find somebody that wants to buy, sell, or invest? Your mileage may vary, right? It depends on who you know, but it might take a month in order to, or two to get going. You see where I'm going with this. You might need 6 months of reserve before you start getting money back. If you're doing residential real estate, you're going to have to work evenings and weekends. That's when the clients are not working as well. And by the way, that's why you could do this part-time, because when you're not working is when they're not working, and you get the idea. You could work, you could do that. But if you don't want to work evenings and you don't want to work weekends, then you don't want to do residential real estate. Talk to me about commercial, but you can't, but that's what we need to do in residential. You have to be a self-starter. You have to be self-motivated. You have to have self-discipline because people aren't watching over you. Now, we do have coaching systems and mentoring programs where we're not letting you just flop around by yourself, but you understand you have to find your own strength, right, and have your own motivation. As I've already mentioned, it's a commission-only, non-salaried position. And if you're going full boat, joining the board of realtors, joining the multiple listing service, it's going to take maybe a couple of grand to get going. I have a breakdown later. So what do you need to succeed? Well, a goal would be nice. Let's say you liked the $800,000 sale, $20,000 commission times 12. That sounded good. 240,000 sounded good. So let's say our goal is to close 1 transaction a month, 12 transactions in the next 12 months. That's our goal. Now, to back up from a closing, what happens before a transaction closes is we have an appointment with a buyer, seller, or investor, talking to them about buying, selling, or investing. So not every appointment is going to result in a closed transaction. Now, let's say because you're new and you're just getting started at this, you can only close 1 out of every 4 people you meet with. You have 4 appointments. 1 of them actually buys, sells, or invests. Right? Now, by the way, we help you with the appointments and your ratio should be higher than that, but let's just go with that. So in order to close 12 transactions, and if you need 4 appointments to close a transaction, that means you need 48 appointments in order to close 12 transactions. That would work out to having 1 appointment a week, 1 a week for 48 weeks. You can take a month off. You're in real estate, take a month off. So if you had 1 appointment a week for 48 weeks, you would have enough appointments to close 12 transactions. So how do you get an appointment? Well, you have to have conversations with people about buying, selling, or investing. Well, how many conversations do you need to get somebody to buy, sell, or invest? Again, it varies, but let's use 50 as a rule of thumb. So you're going to need to have 50 conversations before you get an appointment, and you're going to need 4 appointments before you close a transaction. What that breaks down to is if you're working on a 5-day week, you're going to need to have 10 conversations a day with people about buying, selling, or investing, 10. And you're going to need to do that 5 days a week to get the 50 a week, to get the appointment a week, to get the transaction a month, to get to the Tesla store, right? Something like that. So, all right, so who do I talk to and how do I talk to them? Well, that's where training and coaching and mentoring and the tools and systems come in, right? But that gives you an idea of what real estate agents do. And a sample schedule, right? There's a bunch of them on the internet. They're all, basically you're doing preparation work, you're talking to people, we call that lead generation, appointment setting activities. You're following up with people that you've talked to. You're servicing the business, which means you're reading emails and text messages and responding to phone calls and doing research on properties and that sort of stuff. And then there are appointments where you're meeting with buyers or sellers or investors, showing property. That's sort of the breakdown. Commissions, real estate commissions and service. We're going to talk more about this, but in a traditional real estate office, the higher the commission that they pay you, the fewer the services they provide you. Plus, many offices charge monthly fees. Sometimes they're very large. And usually a higher commission means less services, and the normal real estate model means lots of monthly fees. By that, I mean $200, $300, $400 a month. We're going to talk more about that. We also have an apprentice program, and the apprentice program is available to those in the process of getting their real estate license. And you get access to coaching, and there's a guest pass, and you can get guidance on how to set up your future business. I think I have another slide later that says the same thing, but this is fine. We'll do it here. How is the market? Well, the answer is it's actually pretty strong for real estate. despite all of the, there are a lot of businesses that aren't doing well. Real estate sales are up. And in fact, for 2021, it's projected that the number of sales are going to go up 9% next year, and the prices are going to rise about 3%. Isn't there going to be a crash? Aren't everything, they've got people that can't pay their mortgage and people that aren't paying their rent, and isn't it, people are moving away because they can work remotely? Isn't that going to cause a crash in the market? Well, one of the reasons that may not happen is foreign investors are waiting to invest in California and the United States real estate. So if for some reason a lot more inventory came on the market, that's still not necessarily going to cause a crash. It would have to be a really, really lot more than what's projected. What about California specifically? This is from the California Association of Realtors, our union, from their economists, and they have a high and a low and what they consider to be a baseline projection. And what you can see from this is that our single family home resales, which means not builder brand new homes, they're projecting that there's going to be a 3.3% increase in sales in California in 2021. That's what this is all about. And a 4.4% increase in the median price of single family homes in the state of California in the next year. 2021, and it's projected that interest rates are going to be about 3.1% in 2021. The market is projected to be strong in the next year, at least, let's just say, at least. All right, so let's talk about what are your options about getting into real estate. There's different kinds of real estate companies. There are small independent boutique kind of offices. What's the advantage of being at a boutique office? Well, one, they probably don't have or often don't have monthly fees, right? So it may cost less to be there. They might pay a little bit better than some of the other brokers. However, they don't have training usually, right? They don't have stuff. They don't have technology and systems and things like that. But then, you're not paying that much. There's franchises, and my background, by the way, is I spent a really, really long time at a company called Century 21, and I also spent 7 years at a company called Keller Williams, plus affiliated with some boutique offices as well. And those offices, by the way, most of those Keller Williams and Century 21 are franchises. And there's a national, they have a big name. You've heard of them before, right? They have a big name. They're national, international companies, but the commission split isn't that good. The fees are generally higher. They have training, right? And they have some stuff that you get with it. In between those, there's a company called EXP. And EXP is a cloud-based brokerage. It's a disruptor in real estate, and I thought it'd be fun to talk about that. First of all, EXP is an international company. You may not have heard of them before, but it's an international company. Already we're set up in the United States and Canada, the United Kingdom, and Australia. Plus, we're launching in Mexico. Portugal has already started. France is starting, and India. By the way, we're also in South Africa. So, and that number is growing. We're an international company. Our earnings have skyrocketed, and in the third quarter of 2020, the number of agents that were in XP increased 56%. We've added almost 5,000 agents just in the third quarter, and there's a reason for that. The number of transactions went up a lot, 95% increase year over year from the third quarter to the 2019, 112% increase in transaction volume. That means the dollar value of the properties being sold, which is important because that's what commissions are based on. The revenue went up 100% to EXP as a company during the third quarter. And profit grew 103%. And our net income went up a lot, up 910%. And it keeps growing, keeps growing, and keeps growing. And there's a reason why. And the reason is because we've been called the Amazon of real estate, right? And the reason we've been called, so some of you may be old enough to remember that there used to be something called Blockbuster, right? You know, if you're a millennial, this may sound strange, but instead of Netflix, you know, you would go to this building, a brick and mortar building, and they would rent VHS tapes or CD-ROMs, and you would take them home and you would play them in your player, and then you would take them back. Now, by the way, when Netflix was getting started at the beginning, it was kind of rocky, and they actually approached Blockbuster and asked Blockbuster, would you like to buy us out? And Blockbuster said, no, we don't need you guys. We understand how to deliver movies to the American public. Yeah, we all know how that turned out. Amazon, ever heard of Circuit City? Right, you know, what happened to Circuit City? Well, Amazon came in, and it wasn't just Circuit City, but you get the idea. The brick and mortar companies have been replaced by the cloud-based companies. And traditional real estate brokerages are being replaced by EXP. We're the only major large cloud-based real estate company. So by cloud-based, it means we don't have desk fees because, well, there aren't desks. You know, you can work from anywhere. And because we're not renting all that space, all those brick and mortar buildings all over the United States, it means that we can pay our agents more and provide more services than the other companies that are renting all that space. It's the biggest expense in running a real estate office is oftentimes just the rent, the lease, and all of that sort of stuff. So we have live training, all cloud-based. There's more than 50 hours a week. In addition to what's on the EXP training schedule, regionally, I do classes every week. Other people do classes, Zoom, go to meeting, go to webinar kinds of things. But there's 50 hours of training at least every week live online. Now it gets recorded in case the time it doesn't work for you, and it covers everything you need to know, from how to take sales and how to make listings and how to use CRMs as a customer relationship management system. It's technology, social media marketing, all of that is included. The other thing about EXP that is attractive, and if you're in the tech world, you understand the value of stock options and stock ownership, and having some of the money that you're being paid and the salary to go to purchasing stocks, especially as the stocks are rising. We have the same thing. EXPI is our NASDAQ symbol. And what I've set up so that when I close a transaction with EXP, 5% of what I earn goes to the purchase of stock with EXP at a 10% discount, owning stock in the company. And by the way, our stock has been going up somewhat vertical. In fact, I was reading one of the stock people, you know, talking about what stocks are hot and that sort of thing. And they said that the EXP stock graph looked like Zoom's graph, right? It went almost vertical this year, again, because we're the only major cloud-based brokerage. And so the other companies, the Coldwell Bankers and the Century 21s and the Remaxes and the Keller Williams and the Interos and the Compasses and all of those other companies, those are all brick and mortar companies. And so when the pandemic hit, they didn't really know what to do, because their model was everybody shows up at the office and they do training in the office and admin is at the office. And now they're scrambling. How do we do this without everybody coming into the office? For us, that was not a challenge. We were already cloud-based before it happened, which is why our number of people have gone up, our transactions have gone up, and our stock has gone up a lot, let's just say. We also have a revenue share plan. Let me give you, let me just say this, I'll circle back to this. Out of the money that the company gets paid, 50% of it is given back to associates. I'll give an example. Remember the $800,000 property being sold, and it was a $20,000 gross commission. Now, this is coming up in another slide, but real estate offices generally have a baseline commission plan. At Citrix 21, it was 50-50 if you were new. At Keller Williams, it was 70-30 if you were new. And at EXP, it's 80-20. Now, what 80-20 means is you get 80 and EXP gets 20. Now, by the way, on your first 3 transactions, there's a mentoring program, so it's a little bit different, but we'll just talk about, the baseline after that. So let's say you sold an $800,000 house and it was $20,000 was the gross commission income. You would get $16,000, 80%, and EXP would get $4,000. $4,000. That's 20% of the $20,000. Out of the $4,000 that EXP received from that transaction, half of that money, $2,000, is going to be given back to EXP associates through revenue share. Half of all the money the company brings in revenue, half of all the company's revenue is rebated, given back to associates. I'm sure they do that where you work, right? Isn't that true? I'm sure they do. They take half of the money they earn and they give it back to the people that work there. I'm sure that's what's going on. So welcome to our world. The world involves an avatar. It involves a cloud environment. I was in training. I went to tech support today. The access of it can be done through a tablet, a laptop, a cell phone. It's a cloud environment. And there's real-time support. I was having an issue with a computer, and so I go into the cloud with my avatar, and they give a link, and so the guy can do stuff to the computer, and he restarted it, and he updated it, and apparently I have a problem with the graphics card, but I can get things fixed. I can talk to the accounting department. I can do all that. There's daily training. All of that is done in the cloud. And by the way, it's better, and I'm sure you guys can tell just from seeing here that when I'm doing something on a GoToWebinar or Zoom or that sort of stuff, I have a ring light. Right? I have a ring light. I have to look at the lighting in the room. I have to think about what I'm wearing. I think about the background. I'm not saying I've spent a lot of time on that today, but I'm just saying with an avatar, I don't have to do any of that stuff, right? You understand? It's not me it's the avatar, which means I don't have to put my makeup on or anything. Because we're a large real estate company, we have all the marketing tools, the brochures, the business cards, all the stuff, everything that you would need in order to be successful. We got all that. What are people saying? Well, they call us the Amazon of real estate. As Medium says, the Amazon model, zero physical infrastructure, real estate, you're next. And obviously the pandemic changed dramatically the way businesses are being run. Offices are changing. People are being encouraged to work from home and we're already set up for all of that. So let's talk about the commission capping and fees for fun. Remember I talked about the 80-20 commission split, right? Remember, so you've sold a $800,000 property, $20,000 is the gross commission, you get 16, EXP gets 4. Now, if you're what we call a solo agent, you have a $16,000 cap. Now, what that means is that's a cap on the amount of commissions you have to pay to EXP in any one year. So 16,000 would be 4 of those transactions, right? So if you sold 4 $800,000 houses and EXP got $4,000 each time you sold the $800,000 house, after 4 of those transactions, you would have given EXP $16,000. You'd be capped, and you wouldn't have to pay them any more commissions for the rest of that year. I, by the way, have what's called a production team in EXP. And if you're on my production team, that cap is cut in half. That's only $8,000, which means 2 of those transactions, you would then be at 100% for the rest of that year. There's a $250 transaction fee for processing and things like that, but that's it. Other standard costs, $149 to get started, $85 a month is a monthly cloud brokerage fee. It includes training and access and all of this other kind of stuff. There's a few nominal fees, broker reviews, $25, risk management, which is, it's to prevent lawsuits, is like $40 a transaction. To give you an idea, most of the Keller Williams offices that I worked at was a minimum of $135 a month. Most of them are $200 a month. Some of them are $300 a month. If you were to go to a Coldwell Banker or a Compass or an Intero or many of those companies, you're talking about hundreds of dollars a month, oftentimes just in fees that you pay to the office. Plus the cap, Century 21 and those, you never get to 100%. Right? They're always taking money out of your, it doesn't matter how many transactions you do. Many of those companies are franchises. So on top of all this, there's franchise fees, right? The reason we can do this is because we don't have the overhead of all the leased spaces all over the United States. Production matters. You may not have heard of us. We're the 5th largest real estate company in the United States based upon agent count, the 7th largest real estate company in the United States based upon transaction volume. By far, we're the largest independent. Who's bigger than us? Well, there's Keller Williams and Coldwell Banker and RE/MAX and Century 21 and EXP. Right? Just saying, and what that means for you is, first of all, we're international, which means we can do referral business with agents in Austin. Do people from our area go to Sacramento? I have a person interested in moving to Sacramento. Do people from our area go to Nevada? Do they go to Texas? Do they go to Florida? Do they go to Arizona? Do they go to Oregon? Well, we have agents there. And in fact, I'm in my team getting agents that work on my team in those other areas. So being big, not only does it give you that referral ability, but it also means that we have the money, the resources to do the tools and systems that you need to be successful. Websites, computer software, we have an iBuyer program, discounted medical insurance, all of the goodies. So how to get started? How to get a real estate license? So the licensing process, 3 things you have to do. First, you have to complete 3 college level courses in real estate. You don't have to go to college, right? You don't have to go to college. That's all ramped up in our program. Second, you have to pass a test given by the California Department of Real Estate. And then third, once you've done those 2 things, you can apply to get a license from the state of California. Before applying for the state exam, you have to complete a course in real estate principles. You have to take a course in real estate practice, and then you have to take an elective. And the elective could come from anything that's on this list. Now, I'll point out that on this list is accounting, economics, and business law. Let's just say sometime in the past, you, from a junior college or better, you've taken accounting, economics, or business law, and you can get your hands on a copy of the transcript. It doesn't have to be an original. This isn't like applying to Harvard. You've got the 3rd course. I've had some people say, well, I've got all 3. I've got accounting, economics, and business law. Is that going to help me? Well, maybe in life it will, but not for this. You only need 1 from this list. If you're saying, well, I don't have any of those, what am I going to do? Well, we have, where is it? Legal aspects of real estate. And the legal aspects of real estate law is bundled in our course. And by the way, even if you've gotten accounting, economics, or business law, you might want to take real estate law, because the Department of Real Estate on the licensing test is not going to ask you questions about accounting, economics, or business law, but they're going to ask a lot of questions about real estate law. All right. So where would you go to get your college level courses? Well, people aren't going to college anymore to do this. We use an online program. Now, the way an online college level course works is you enroll in the course. Then you go to the website and you start the course. You have to click on the button, start the course. And when you click on that button, a timer starts ticking, metaphorically, virtually in the cloud. It starts ticking. And after 18 days has elapsed from the day you started the course, you're now eligible to take the final exam. That doesn't mean you have to take the final exam in 18 days. You could take longer. But what it means is you can't take the final exam any sooner than 18 days after you've enrolled. The final exam for the 3 college level courses is an online final exam. You can take it at home, and it's an open book test. Let me go over that one more time. There are 3 college courses, college level courses, therefore 3 final exams. And each of those final exams is an online, at home, open book, cheat as much as you want to final exam. You can cheat as much as you want to. They give you 3 hours to get 75 out of 100 questions correct. Did I mention that this is an open book test? Now, the reason they make you wait 18 days is because you could all pass right now. You know, we give you the book, we give you an internet connection. In 3 hours, you could look up 75 answers in 3 hours without knowing anything about the material, just from Google and just from going through the book. That would make the whole thing look like maybe a waste of time. So the state of California says this is supposed to be a 45-hour course. So you need to wait 18 days before you can take the final exam. I hope you realize that what I've just described is not the hard part of getting a real estate license. This is not the hard part. What is the hard part then? The hard part is the state exam. The state exam in California is 150 multiple choice questions. You know, A, B, C, D, pick the best answer. No essays, no short answer, fill in the blanks, no true false, none of that. Out of those 150 questions, you have to get, and also let me just say, it is not an open book test. It's not an online test. You can't take the state exam at home. You have to go to one of the Department of Real Estate's testing facilities. They are located in Oakland, Sacramento, Fresno, Orange County, and San Diego. That's it, right? And it's not an open. They're watching you, right? You can't cheat. They're watching you. So, out of the 150 questions, you have to get 70% of them correct in order to pass this exam. Does that sound like a high score to require? 70%? Let's say you're laying on the operating table and your brain surgeon comes in, pulling on their gloves. They announce, hey, look, I may be new, but don't worry. I passed the brain surgeon's exam. Yeah, I passed. I got 70%. Nailed that test. Does that sound like a good score for a brain surgeon, 70%? You realize that if your brain surgeon got 70% of the questions right, it means that your brain surgeon missed more than 1 out of every 4 questions they were asked about the subject of brain surgery. That doesn't sound so good. I mean, the 30% they didn't know, maybe that's what they're doing to me. Now, my point is, you don't have to be a brain surgeon to get a real estate license. You might already have known that. You don't have to be a brain surgeon to get a real estate license. All you have to do is get 70% of the questions right, and you're in. Having said that, however, every time the Department of Real Estate gives this test, they fail more than half the people in the room. Many of them, they have failed before. You can take this test an unlimited number of times. I have met too many people over the years that have taken the exam more than 10 times. You know, then they decided they might need a course. So you need to remember this. All these people that are failing, and by the way, the failure rate for first-time takers is closer to 70%. The 50+ failure rate includes people that are taking it the second, the third, the fourth, every time they give the test. What you need to keep in mind is all of these people that are failing the state exam, all of them have successfully completed those 3 online open book, cheat as much as you want, 2 college courses. They all did, because you can't take the state exam unless you've done the 3 college courses. The point I'm making is doing the 3 college courses does not mean you're getting a real estate license. It just means you've done the minimum amount required to go take a shot at the exam. What I do is I teach people how to pass the test. I have live classes, which you can take in any order and repeat them as often as you would like. They're held Wednesday evenings from 6:30 to 8:45, all broadcast on the internet and recorded. They're in a rotating schedule, which means it's like a pizza in that there's no first slice, right? You know, which piece is the first piece, whichever piece you start with. So my classes are designed to be independent modules. They don't build on each other. There's no first piece. You can start with any one, you can take them in any order, you can repeat them as often as you can stand it. So as we finish the cycle, 12, let's say 12 was last week, the next week will be number 1. It just keeps rotating on and on and on and on. The investment in the course is $398. That includes the 12 live classes, the video replays, a course outline, a practice testing program. It includes the college level courses and a cram class, which we call a Saturday exam workshop. A cram class, I think, is the technical term for it. $398. And my website is, this DRE class. That could stand for Devlin Real Estate Class or Department of Real Estate, whichever you like. And I have a very high pass rate. Virtually everybody who goes through my course passes the exam on their first try. I encourage you to come and sit through a class as a guest. There's no cost or obligation. You can see if you like it or not. We have a placement program to help you find a team to be on, a place to work, regardless of where you're located. And if you join my team, which could be just about anywhere geographically, there's a 100% tuition rebate program, which means on your first closing, I'll kick in an extra $398. Doesn't hurt. How long does all of this take? 4 to 6 months. Right now, it's more like 6 months than 4 months because of COVID-19, the Department of Real Estate isn't giving tests in as many locations and as often as they were. But if you break it down into the different phases, it takes about 54 days to get through the college level program. While you're doing that, it's 12 weeks to go through the live classes. Those are somewhat simultaneous. It takes another couple of months at least or longer to get a test date. It's going to take you minimum of 4. Right now, it's taking about 6 months for people to get a license. If you start today, it'll be probably 6 months before you have a license, unless something changes with the testing very quickly. I mentioned the Apprentice Program twice now. It's also, the reason I wanted to talk about it here apparently is because during that wait, what could you be doing? Well, you can talk to everybody you know and people that they know and see if anybody that you know or they know is interested in buying, selling, or investing in real estate, and you could receive a finder's fee, which, by the way, on the $800,000 transaction with the $20,000 in gross commission, the finder's fee would be close to $4,000, right? You'll be getting as much as EXP would in that transaction. Just saying. What does it cost to get into real estate? Notice the line, right? Let's do above the line first. The getting the license, the college level, all of that, $398. It's going to cost $305 to take the state exam and have them issue you a license. And in doing this, they're going to want your fingerprints and they're going to process them, and that's going to cost about $75. Now, the reason for the line is, let's say you're a referral only agent. You could stop right there, right? And that would mean that your total expenses are $778. Now, if you keep going, now you're joining the Association of Realtors. You need to do that in order to be able to write offers, right? Because the software we use to write contracts is controlled by the union. You need to join the Board of Realtors to get the key that unlocks homes when people are not there. You need to join the multiple listing service in order to do all the property searches and market analysis and use all that software. that raises the total expense of getting into real estate to about $1,900. Now, what some people do that are, financially, concerned about this is they might start off as a referral agent. How about this? Start off as a finder, find somebody during the 6 months that's interested in buying, selling, or investing. You'll get $4,000, let's say, which would cover all these expenses and more. Or people that haven't found anyone yet, they may start off as a referral only agent until they get somebody that's interested in buying, selling, or investing. Then that money would let them join the board of realtors. If you're serious about selling real estate, you need to join the board of realtors and the multiple listing service to get access to all the tools and systems. Monthly expenses prorated. Let me just say it's going to be about $200 a month. The MLS has ongoing fees. The board of realtors, it's annually, but I broke it down monthly just so you could get an idea. So it's about $200 a month. By the way, if you were a referral only agent, there'd be no monthly fees. Why? Because you wouldn't be part of EXP, you'd be part of our referral division. You won't be in the MLS, you won't be in the Association of Realtors, right? But you could make that switch later. Just saying, there are options. Your license is good for 4 years. Every 4 years, you have to take 45 hours of continuing education to renew it. If you want more information, that's how to get a hold of us, to call us, website, and all that. I have good Yelp reviews. You might want to check them out. This was a screenshot from a couple years ago. I stopped advertising on Yelp, and they filtered over 100 five-star reviews. They said that had nothing to do with me not advertising. But you can see I'm showing you the good, the bad, and the bad, Out of those 100, my first 123 reviews, you can see I have received a 4-star review. I've gotten one. I've let go of it, stopped looking for the guy, anyhow, I've gotten over it. So what would be the next thing to do? Check out a class if you haven't already done that. You go to my website, dreclass.com, click on the button that says free guest lesson. You fill out a form that looks a lot like the one you filled out to be at this one tonight, and check out a class. There's one on Wednesday night. In addition, if you're saying, look, I don't need another class, I've already seen your class, or I'm already sold, how do I sign up? Go to dreclass.com, click on the sign up now button, $398, everything you need to get your real estate license, and you're in. And that, I know, is the final slide. So let's see, I haven't seen any questions in the chat, but if you guys have any questions that you would like me to answer, now would be a good time. Give it a minute. Sometimes there aren't any questions because I talk so much. All right. Well, I'm assuming then that I've sufficiently covered it for you to get an idea. If you have special questions and you would like to talk to me individually, reach out to us. I'll make an appointment. We can talk by Google Meet, Zoom. We could just, the phone, all that. Here we go. What if I've already passed the class and I'm looking for a broker? Then we ought to talk sooner than later. If you want, I can send you a link and we would set up a time for us to do a Google Meet, Zoom, whichever one you like, go to meeting, and I would go through what the different options are and answer any questions that you have if you've already passed the exam. All right. And you're already taking the class. I'm wondering, is there only, yes, I also have, let's talk, I do have an exam prep only part. So I can help you pass the test. If you're only, so you might, I'll keep looking at your guys and send you an email, but if you are already taking the 3 college courses from something else, I have a program just to help you pass the exam. It includes an extensive practice testing. We'll talk, but we ought to make a time to speak to each other. I'll send both of you a Calendly link. How about that? Any other questions? It seems like we've got. All right. All right. Well, cool. Thank you very much for coming this evening. If you have any further questions, just, reach out to us. We would, I'd love to see you in class or make an appointment to talk to you soon. Have a nice evening.